Hello everybody, and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Album Spotlight, the show where I put the spotlight on a new album in progressive rock that I think you guys will really love, that I've been excited about and want to share. And if you have similar musical taste to me, I think it's one you'll really love and enjoy. That's always my job here. That's why I started this YouTube channel, is to share my joy and love of music with like-minded individuals and showcase that there's still great music being made today. It wasn't all just made in the 70s and maybe early 80s, but we've got a vibrant, wonderful progressive rock scene that's really exciting in today's modern age. And to exemplify that, I have an incredible album to talk about, Lux Terminus and their album Cinder. This is an eclectic prog band from the US, formed in 2016. Their first album was called The Courage to Be in 2018, and this is their sophomore release. And it's more in an instrumental style vein. And really the biggest touchstone for me when listening to this is Liquid Tension Experiment, but think about way more focus on keyboards instead of guitar. And you've got an idea of what to expect here. They also have a lot of that kind of djenty style sound that you hear from artists like Animals as Leaders and Periphery and things like that. So you get a little bit of that, a little bit of a modern touch with some electronica accents as well. They have a couple of guest stars on the record, so you get a couple of vocal sections, especially in the track Catalyst, which features Ross Jennings and John Pyers on vocals there, and some background style vocals as well by Aspera, which is kind of a backing singer group that sings with Sleep Token. So you get that on a few tracks as well to bring a bit of a more choral style aspect to it. But really what stands out to me with this band is their cinematic style. They have a big scope, and some of their pieces sound like orchestral arrangements, but done on keyboard. And they really take you to space and take you to these grand, majestic heights with this really expressive playing and this almost atmospheric soundscape and these kind of movie soundtrack style expansive works that are really exciting to me as a listener and not quite like other things that I listen to in this style. The band cites a lot of influences that you can hear bits and pieces of. They cite influences by Dream Theater, Haken, Rush, Pink Floyd, Genesis, Return to Forever, Animals as Leaders, Periphery, Anathema, I Am the Morning, Tiger and Hamasyan, Vince DiCola, Hans Zimmer, and Howard Shore. So that's where you get kind of that cinematic style flavor into their sound as well. These like great composers of these big epic movie soundtracks. But I just really like this record a lot. And the more I listen to it, the more I'm addicted to it, in fact. And I love how it opens with this Jupiter suite. Jupiter 1, Jupiter 2, and Jupiter 3, which combined create like a 13-minute or so piece of work, which I think it's really interesting that they start the record with this big cinematic piece that isn't very heavy. It's more spacey, it's more atmospheric, it's very uplifting and very bright with these big choir vocals, and it really does evoke this kind of majesty of being in space and seeing these like celestial bodies, and it's this lush wall of sound and these bright synth work. And there are moments where it gets a little bit more upbeat, but there's quite a bit of just like this lush atmosphere and this spacey, sparse electronica and these bigger, more grand sweeping landscapes that sound unlike what you'd expect in modern progressive metal. And it's just really beautiful. And I love the positive angle to it, that it doesn't, a lot of metal music can sound very dark and twisted and done more in a minor key, done more of kind of this aggressive, harsher style, where this is very bright and uplifting and positive, and that sets it apart from some of its other contemporaries in a brilliant way that I love. And so this whole suite at the beginning, this Jupiter suite, is fantastic and one of the highlights of the record, a great way to introduce them to an audience. And I love just this really expressive work of art that they've put together here. And then with Mosaic Mind, we get more into what you might expect from a prog metal group that's focused on keyboards. It still feels like it has this anthemic and uplifting style, but you get these real heavy stabs and these kind of heavier arrangements. I love the keyboards though, which even have a bit of a classically inspired feel to them at times, but you get these meaty bass lines, this furious drum work, and these lush atmospheres that are built by these fantastic keyboard arrangements. Love this kind of big key change towards the end that uplifts the song even further. They make sure to bring the intensity with these great kind of tempo shifts and increases, and the searing synth lead towards the end that makes this a fantastic piece of work. Neon Rain is another hard-hitting piece with swirling electronica and stabbing keys that keeps up with a furious pace and has this almost Far Eastern kind of flair to it as well. Really great bass and drum work on this track, and it drives this piece forward in a very exciting and expressive way. PLONK, or Plonk, is the next track with great rhythms and kind of bluesy keyboard work with this upbeat, bouncier feel. I love when we get into this kind of slower pace section that's built around an intriguing keyboard riff as we get into a bit of a more groovier kind of feel. A great synth lead takes center stage and it's very chill vibe and atmosphere, with a furious solo and back to that kind of rhythmic, bouncier vibe towards the end. So it's a great piece that's built in a fantastic way where it has this kind of bouncier, kind of more uplifting feel at the beginning and ending, but then this more kind of slower pace section towards the middle that gives you kind of a breather between these faster paced workouts. Catalyst is one of the best tracks on the record as well, and this is an 8-minute track that features the vocal work of Ross Jennings and John Pyers. Of course, I'm a huge Ross Jennings fan, so anytime I hear his voice, it automatically makes me enjoy the track that much more. And aside from that, there's also some wonderful saxophone work being done by Jørgen Munkby. Fantastic addition to this track that I think lifts it up to even greater heights. I love the vocal additions here. I think it adds another element to their track list. I love how the first Ross-led singing section is a bit more upbeat and positive, and it's really anthemic and powerful. And then the part that John Pyers sings is a bit more darker and a bit more of a twisted, kind of moodier feel to it as well. So you get these kind of light and shade, this two sides of the coin effect with their vocal work. And as it continues, you feel this very dramatic, orchestrated sound. You get this great saxophone solo, and you get some piano electronic beats, swirling vocalizations, and a glorious vocal buildup at the end, followed by some fading atmosphere. Just a fantastic blend of different things on this track that work together in tandem and make for this fantastic journey that you're taking on. And I just really, really respected this piece and loved the guests that they brought on board to really realize this track in a full-fledged way. The Devil's Eyes is more of a lower-pitched keyboard sound with skittering electronica, more darker, foreboding feel. Almost feels like it could fit in like a horror soundtrack. Some pure dark piano, dark meaty headbanging feel towards the end, but a great display of incredible keyboard virtuosity. Before we get into Apparent Horizon, where things lighten up quite a bit, we get a furious keyboard repeating riff over this bright uplifting atmosphere. I love some of the more jazz-tinged keyboard sections as well, and great meaty bass lines. Fantastic journey that swirls between different sections of heavy and then more atmospheric style work as well. There's a great keyboard solo about 3 minutes in before it quiets into a more thoughtful atmosphere with brilliant keys that ramps up to an uplifting, beautiful conclusion. And then we finished the record with Natsukashi, which is a fantastic piece of work as well. Glittering electronic keys swirl in a kaleidoscope before the bass and drum drop into the piece. Brilliant shifting tempos, life-affirming style feel, very bright and positive, cinematic, lush, incredible synth lead solos over intense backing music with these cool vocal chants. It's just a wonderful, uplifting, life-affirming way to end the record in a very positive angle. So fantastic work by this trio of musicians. Vikram Shankar is the keyboard player here, who's really the spotlighted musician who's doing all this work, not just with his lead work, but also building these fantastic, lush harsh atmospheres and lending this cinematic feel to the whole record. Brian Kraft on bass, just really laying it down with a meaty bass line and just always something to hook your ear and to keep it grounded in a wonderful fashion. It almost brings a funk flavor to some of these tracks. And then we get Matthew Kirshner on drums, who's hard-hitting when he needs to be, but lighter when the song calls for it. And three fantastic musicians working in tandem to create an excellent piece of music that to me sets itself apart from other prog metal instrumental groups by being a bit more positive and more cinematic and having these major key sections. Of course, there's darker moments. Of course, there's minor key parts as well. But they blend it fantastically well with these uplifting, life-affirming sections that bring a bent of positivity and joy to these pieces that really works for me in my musical wheelhouse and makes this one of my favorite records of the quarter, perhaps of the year. A fantastic piece of art that I recommend heartily to all of those watching this review. Please go check this out. It's out now and available, so you can check it on any streaming service or, of course, buying physical copies wherever you buy your physical media. Fantastic and well worth your time. Definitely check out at least some of these tracks to see if it's something you're interested in. If my explanation has piqued your interest, I really recommend it. So thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully you appreciated this review. I hope you'll join me in future reviews, as I love recommending new music to people with similar minds as me who enjoy progressive music. It's a lot of fun. So thank you guys, and just keep enjoying the music out there. Bye, everybody.